Several of the founding fathers of the United States made statements expressing what they understood to be a fundamental principle of the sort of freedom that would be enabled by the kind of country they sought to establish. A country that enabled people the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. And that principle was that this sort of a society, this sort of a country that would allow for such freedom is only sustainable if that society is a society in which are grounded certain basic morals. This is tied to the idea that with much freedom comes much responsibility. Yes, in the United States, we have the freedom to save up as much money as we want, to be as stingy as we want. As stingy as we want, excluding taxes. That's a whole different topic. We have the ability to be as sexual as we want, to be as extremist as we want when it comes to religion or any sort of different things, or to be as indifferent as we want. And in all of these things, the pendulum could swing to either extreme and lead to negative consequences. And when our society as a whole abandons the middle path and abandons millennia-old principles that have been proven with time and with their effectiveness, that establish stability in people's lives and gives people future and hope. When we abandon all these things, then the liberty and the freedom that our founding fathers established for us and intended for us in this country, that freedom begins to be shaky, and a cycle begins all over again, in which we lose freedoms, we regain consciousness, awareness of how precious it is and what it takes to gain it. And again, it has to be fought for with blood. That's avoidable if we don't lose hold of those principles that will ensure the preservation of a society that enables such freedom. That's my 2 cents for today. Basically comes down to this, that you can be free to do whatever you want, but a slave to your own whims and base impulses. Not all those impulses are bad. Drinking is not bad in itself. Sex is not bad in itself. Saving money is not bad in itself. And giving charity is not bad in itself. But drunkenness, becoming a slave to alcohol, it's not fun. And it leads to death. Sex is great with certain limits. But when there are no limits and it's engaged in with people without caring about that person, without any sort of commitment or concern for health, it leads to death. Greediness, when people don't give charity to others, it leads to death. And charity, which is coerced and forced by taxes or by theft of private individuals, whether the theft is by the government or by private individuals, it ultimately leads to death. So, this 4th of July, this Independence Day, not only in the US, but in every country when they celebrate Independence Day, it should be a time of reflection and introspection, that we will return, as a country, will repent. Yeah, we can debate about certain details of theology and beliefs, but there are certain principles, universal principles, that can be recognized in every millennia-old religion and society that has sustained an identity over the eons, over the ages. It's impossible to give great depth of contemplation on these things every single day, but on days like this, every once in a while, at least once a month, but especially like at least once a year on a New Year's or Independence Day, it's an opportunity to think about these things, to strengthen the society, and to wake up from our slumber, so that we can carry on this freedom that we have. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than what many people in the world have. So we can preserve it to the best we can, improve it even, and pass it on to our children and future generations without unnecessary bloodshed. Happy Independence Day. Hag Atzmaut Sameach. Yalla bye.